What is going on, my friends, and welcome back to another video on the channel. Well, in today's video, we are going over the drama that's happening right now between FTX and Voyager, as FTX made a proposal to buy off Voyager's assets and be able to repay its customers, and Voyager basically told them to go screw off just last night in a court filing that was released. So let's not waste any time at all. Let's talk about exactly what is going on and how this does affect you and I who hold crypto on Voyager exchange. So with that said, let's get a little bit of a recap. So on Friday, FTX made a proposal to Voyager. Now, under FTX's plan, first proposed again late last week, interested Voyager customers would be able to have an advance on their bankruptcy claims. They could use this to buy more digital assets on FTX or withdraw cash. Now, what this means is that FTX proposed that they would buy the remaining assets on Voyager and then distribute those back out to the customers that make the claim by having them create an FTX account. So, of course, this simultaneously does help the customer and it helps FTX. As one, it brings more publicity and, of course, excitement to FTX. Two, they are capable of generating fees through being able to sell these assets and going through the withdrawal process. So it does still make them money in a way. And three, for the customer, we can see that it allows them to be able to get to not have to go through this bankruptcy process and to actually be able to get some of their assets back as we do wait out Voyager going through this whole court filing. Now, the reason why I say some and not all is because they're not saying that everyone's money on Voyager is going to be returned to them. What they're saying is that Voyager still has some of their assets left. They still have some money. And what FTX's proposal is that they will buy those remaining assets, take those remaining assets, distribute it out to customers, and then once Voyager completes its bankruptcy process and are capable of generating more assets or things of that nature, then take the remaining and then continuously distribute it back out to Voyager customers. So now, in response to that, we went forward and we saw that, Voyager was not going for it. Voyager said that no customer will be made whole under the FTX proposal. Lawyers representing bankrupt crypto lender Voyager Digital have responded to a proposal by FTX by saying that it is a lowball bid dressed up as a white knight rescue. In a court filing, Voyager's lawyer said the plan transfers significant value to Alameda FTX and completely eliminates the value of assets that are of no interest to Alameda FTX. Voyager's lawyers in the filing wrote, "It seems clear, however, that Alameda FTX proposal, which is made in contravention of the proposed bidding procedures, was to generate publicity for itself rather than value for Voyager's customers," which is interesting, and we will go over that in a second. Now, Alameda FTX essentially proposes a liquidation where FTX serves as the role of the liquidator. The fair value of Voyager's cryptocurrency assets and loans is subject to negotiation with Alameda FTX, the lawyers wrote. So, what does this all mean? So what Voyager is saying is that no, what you're doing is you're asking for publicity. This is you trying to get more attention, especially as they have been kind of trying to fish for attention through this whole thing. As crypto companies are going bankrupt, they're making these different bids that aren't really that valuable to the actual company they're trying to buy. And what they're trying to do is get themselves a bigger name. It is working. They are doing quite well, but it is a little bit of a shaky way to try to get publicity. They're saying you're trying to get publicity. This only brings value to you. This brings no value to us, and it doesn't bring any value to our customers. Now, I don't agree there. Now, I think this does bring value to the customers. I don't think it brings value to Voyager. And the reason I say that is Voyager is confident that they will be able to make it through this bankruptcy process. And they are willing to put their customers through this bankruptcy process and to drag them along rather than allowing FTX to buy out their assets to be able to pay back those customers, because Voyager is confident that they are again capable of continuing as a business if they get through this. And so what we get from this is that they are choosing themselves over their customers. What that means is it's not necessarily a bad thing, but they are very willing to, again, drag us along in the idea that they will go through this bankruptcy filing, they will do it right, and then be able to pay us off eventually if they are capable of making this thing work, right? So they're taking a bet on themselves, and they are putting us at risk. So do take that as you want it, right? Some people are upset about it because they're like, so you mean to tell me I could have my money back right now, or some of it at least, but I can't because they want us to be dragged along, and they want to be the ones that pay us back eventually if they can figure this out. That seems like they're being selfish selfish. At the end of the day, it is a business. And that's something you always have to consider, is that if they allowed Voyager to do this, or if they allowed FTX to do this, their business is done. There is no more Voyager. People are going to leave. They're going straight over to FTX, which is exactly what FTX wants. And that is going to be just about it for Voyager, especially until they get through the rest of this bankruptcy. So I understand from a business perspective why they wouldn't want to basically commit suicide in order to be able to pay their customers back, but it is a little bit weird in a sense, knowing the current times that we are in, that they wouldn't put their customers at the very forefront and allow this process to go through. It's kind of up for your own interpretation. I see the good, I see the bad. If I had a lot of money on Voyager, I would be a little bit more upset, I do believe. So I do have a bit of bias in that sense. But at the end of the day, I think that with this, it does make sense as to why they're not really all too excited about this offer from FTX. Now, in response to this, we did get Sam Bankman-Fried. He did go forward and he kind of went off on Twitter last night. Now, we're not going to go over the entire thing as it is 14 threads long, but we will basically summarize the most important parts. So he went forward and said that Voyager lost customer assets, but it still has the majority left. Why haven't those been returned to customers yet? Sad facts from the bankruptcy process. Let's say that Voyager has remaining 75% of assets. It seems like the first thing that should happen is that customers get back the 75% and then later get back the rest if anything is recovered from Three Arrows Capital. But that hasn't happened yet. And why is that? Well, the traditional process is that before customers get their assets back, they get screwed. First, there's a long drawn-out process during which funds are frozen. It can take years. Remember Mt. Gox? That process is still going on. Meanwhile, that entire time, various bankruptcy agents are slowly bleeding the customers' frozen assets dry with consulting fees. This can cost customers hundreds of millions of dollars by the time all is said and done, and finally, there's an embedded option. See, if a customer had one Bitcoin on the platform, and Bitcoin was worth $30,000, and then it takes years to go through bankruptcy, what do they get back? One Bitcoin or $30,000. It's probably whichever is less. So the longer the process drags out, the more optionality that the customer is going to lose, right? Now, because of all of this, they went ahead and they submitted an offer. If accepted, any customer who wanted could come and get back their share of everything that remained as soon as possible. It would let customers, if they chose, get the remaining assets back right away with no fees or an additional haircut. So who's against our offer? Well, it was voluntary. Customers wouldn't have to use it. But there are parties that would lose from it. Third parties who wanted to take some of the customers' assets and fees. The consultants, for instance, likely want the bankruptcy process to drag out as long as possible, maximizing their fees. And our offer would let people claim assets quickly, so that does hurt those consultants as well. Or people who wanted to submit a lower bid, taking a large share of customer assets in the middle. Those people who basically wanted to snake this in any which way they can for their own self-benefit. And so he goes on to conclude saying that in the end, we think Voyager's customers should have the right to quickly claim their remaining assets if they want, without rent seeking in the middle. They've been through enough already. So of course, let me know your sides, where you stand down below. Personally, I do believe that SBF does seemingly have a little bit of selfish intent with this, with FTX and Alameda. But again, it is a business, and the state of business says that if you see an opportunity that can bring more customers to yourself, more advertising, and more revenue, because likelihood is, although there won't be fees that they, fees won't be charged to Voyager customers if they do go through with this offer and then sell their assets or withdraw that cash, but many of them would remain as FTX customers and then fees would be applied. And so of course that does bring more paying customers to FTX as well. And if you get an opportunity like that, why not take it? Especially if it's not really going to be that detrimental to your own bank account, because they have billions of dollars ready to be deployed, especially in situations like this, right? So from Voyager's perspective, I understand why they don't like it. From FTX's perspective, I see why they want to do it. From a customer's perspective, I feel like we're kind of like that one kid stuck in between the mom and the dad arguing. And so for that reason, I would say the best thing we can do is to not get too caught up in the idea that, oh, we're getting screwed over even more by Voyager because they should be doing this with FTX. Because we do have to understand that when we put our money on this platform, we put our money into a business. And the business is going to make the best decisions possible for the business, especially when it comes down to if their business survives or doesn't. That's just the harsh reality reality of the state of the world that we're in, and it's something we have to just accept. Okay, so for that reason, if any more updates do come out that seem promising to us actually getting funds back, that may be beneficial to us and likely Voyager as well, I will of course always let you guys know. And the way in which you can stay up to date is by turning on notifications when you do subscribe to the channel. If you did enjoy today's video and you think more people should see it, always drop a like on the video, but if not, I would just appreciate any type of good and welcoming comment down in the comment section below. But with that said, that's going to be about it, and I will see you all next time. Peace.